Hey guys, Novabush here and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to get into Wyvern riding and talk about how some arguments online and some opinions on Wyvern riding are quite contradictory compared to normal mountain. We'll get into that into this video. So if you watched my most recent Nova chat video with Fungus, we talked about Wyvern riding for a set part of the segment of the video. And he went on the lines of talking about how Wyvern riding shouldn't be possible when you really think about it. Like how bugs are able to move these massive monsters, move things around. It shouldn't be possible. You shouldn't be able to use their limbs just by bugs. And he went on more to say things about Teosho should burn the bugs to crisps. Like you shouldn't be able to do it. It's not possible. And I think I've seen some other people say this online. I've seen this coming up about Wyvern riders is unrealistic. And that got me thinking, and I gave a response to him saying that, well, technically normal mountains should be realistic. In fact, it should be less realistic than Wyvern riding, right? Because when you think about it, when you're normal mountain, you have a dagger that you're just staggering into the monster's back, right? You're literally just riding the monster with your armor. Simply, if a Teosho can burn the Y-bugs, shouldn't you just get burnt as well? Like, how are you Wyvern riding Elatrion? How are you Wyvern riding Astalos? You know, these bugs, monsters that can paralyze you or should be able to use elemental damage on you. Like, if you're going through that thought of that line of thought, that shouldn't be possible, right? And it also makes me think the people who say Wyvern riding isn't realistic, and it's up to them if they feel that way, and there might be some reasons why they feel that way. I wonder why they've never really thought about that for normal mountain. I haven't really ever seen people talk too much about normal mountain being unrealistic. And I have a couple conclusions why I think that is. But before we get into that, I want to say that there is an interesting thing about the Y-bugs that I remember reading within the game, where they say the Y-bugs are very strong. They're almost as strong as steel, basically. This is interesting. So if Y-bugs are as strong as steel, I guess that does give some validity of how strong they are, and they should be for the abilities they give you, like you hanging from the air and so on. Now, similar to when I was talking to Fungus, he said he didn't buy into the fact that they're steel, right? And I'm pretty sure a lot of people have had similar opinions that they don't buy into that. And there's two things there. One thing is, why don't people buy into that? Right, it's a question to ask ourselves. Why wouldn't us buy into that? There's either two things you can come for that. It's either that we just have a reluctance to want to believe it, or two, that the developers of the game haven't shown us in a proper manner that's intuitive or just, you know, presented to us correctly that they are as strong as steel. I think it's a bit of both. I definitely think the people who don't want to buy into it is just because they don't want to buy into it. I mean, you know, bugs in real life, they see bugs in the game and they don't want to buy into the fact that it's as strong as steel. I think that might come down to some biases about the mechanic itself, which makes them think that it shouldn't be possible, right? Because people don't think about normal mountain not being possible, right? And I think that's because of the biases that they might enjoy normal mountain more than Wyvern riding. So their biases towards what's possible, what's not possible, it changes depending on how much they're willing to forgive due to how much they like a system or not. But like I was saying, also for the devs, you know, maybe it's possible that they didn't deliver it in a way to make it possible for people to actually believe that they're as strong as they are, and that's something to think about. But going back to what we were talking about before, now going on to why people might talk about Wyvern riding more as not realistic than normal mountain. Now, I have a theory, and you have to tell me down below if you think you subscribe to design. Be totally honest, you know, we're just discussing here, no one's blaming anyone, we're just, you know, having a discussion here. I have a theory that it's because, similar to what I said before about buying into the fact that it's as strong as it is, it's people's feelings towards something, depending on how greatly they feel about something, they're more willing to forgive some faults rather than others, right? So they're willing to overlook certain things. Let's say, for example, the old Monster Hunter games, you know, they're so fun, they're fun, they're fantastic, they're good to hunt. It's an immersive, different type of feeling than other games, right? But there's a lot of flaws there in how the movement happens, in how you get quests, in how you move around, in how you load in maps. But we're willing to forgive all those things because the core of the game is so great. And it's something that we love so much that we're willing to just say, that's totally fine. Even in 2022, I can go back to GU. I mean, GU came out in 2017 in the West, I think. And I can say, this is totally fine with me. I can accept it. Or was it 2018? It's one of the two. And the similar thing has happened here. For mountain, but normal mountain is looked upon more greatly in people's hearts. So they're willing to, you know, not think about the things that are possible and not possible compared to when it comes to Wyvern riding. Now, I think one of the reasons why people are tired of Wyvern riding has to do with the way the mechanic actually works. In the way that I don't think people would have an issue of Wyvern riding these giant monsters once in a while, like, you know, Teostra, Devil Joe, he's not in the game, but if you could, you know, Gosarag, all these monsters. Like, what I think is the problem is that it happens way too often. And I think that's the root of the situation. Because it happens way too often, it can happen multiple times in a quest. People get a bit more tired of it quicker than they would otherwise. And it's not even just that, it's also because you can get it without trying to get it, and then you're forced to mount it. So a couple of these things around the mechanic may lead people to be a bit more jaded towards the mechanic as a whole. And that may lead them to be like, you know, there's a flaw here, there's a flaw there. Which, of course, there's definitely flaws in Wyvern riding. Those flaws in normal mounting when it first came into the series. For example, in Monster Hunter 4, when you attack monsters when they're mounted, when someone's mounting them, you actually disturb the mounting process and the person will get knocked off. Compared to GU, where they fix that. So if you're hunting someone else and someone's on top of it and you're helping them by hitting the monster, obviously it's much more sense. I don't want to wait around. Definitely when everyone's playing Insect Glaive in that game and everyone was mounting everything. It was kind of annoying. Yeah, it's a problem that the fact that Wyvern riding happens way too often. You can use, definitely on secondary monsters, you can just use one Y bug skill or two, and you Wyvern riding them, like, simple. If they're not the main monster, if it's the main monster, it takes a bit longer, but it's still not, you know, it's still pretty easy to get. And then when monsters see other monsters, you know, it's quite easy to get still. So Wyvern riding happens way too often, and because it happens way too often, and the mechanics of being forced to get it on to Wyvern ride, it definitely leads people to be jaded about the whole system. So I don't think people actually have inherent problem with Wyvern riding or anything like that. And it's very interesting to see that people haven't really thought about normal mounting being unrealistic. So I'm really curious what you guys think in the comments. Like, have you ever thought about that before, or are you just thinking about it now? And what do you think about it? Do you think what I've said holds true, or do you think there's a bit more going on here, or maybe I'm missing the mark entirely? But leave a comment down below, let me know, and I'll catch you guys next time. See you.